Previously on Episode 4. 5 years after the fall of King's Landing, humanity had been living as refugees in Braavos while the Night King's frozen empire spread across Westeros. Arya discovered ancient writings revealing that the White Walkers were tied to the very balance of the world, and that only a hidden power on the Isle of Faces could destroy the Night King for good. But the texts also warned that he would eventually learn of this power himself and come for Essos next. Jon, Daenerys, and the surviving leaders made their choice. Humanity would sail back to Westeros, not as refugees but as conquerors. Now the story continues. The decision to return to Westeros changed absolutely everything. For 5 long years, humanity had lived as refugees. They had hidden behind the tall walls of Braavos, watching helplessly as the world grew colder and colder while the Night King's power spread across the known world. Fear had become a way of life for everyone. Hope had become nothing more than a distant memory. But now, for the first time since the fall of Winterfell, there was a purpose greater than simply surviving. War had returned. Across Braavos, preparations began immediately and did not stop. Shipyards worked day and night without rest. Blacksmiths forged weapons endlessly. Soldiers trained in every courtyard and every open field they could find. Messengers crossed all of Essos carrying just one single message. Humanity's final war was about to begin. The response surprised absolutely everyone. Armies arrived from every corner of the known world. The Unsullied answered Daenerys' call once again. Dothraki riders crossed vast open plains to join the cause. Warriors from the free cities volunteered by the thousands. Even Sellsword companies who normally only fought for gold, pledged their swords to the fight. They all understood one simple truth. If Westeros remained in the hands of the Night King, then eventually no kingdom anywhere would be safe. For the first time in all of history, the entire world united against one common enemy. The last alliance had been reborn. Months later, the largest fleet ever assembled departed from Braavos. Thousands of ships filled the open sea. White sails stretched across the horizon like a moving continent made of cloth. Drogon soared high overhead while countless soldiers stared westward toward the homeland that many of them believed they would never see again. Jon stood at the front of the flagship as the fleet crossed the narrow sea. Beside him stood Daenerys, Tyrion, Arya, Sansa, Davos, Samwell, and the surviving leaders of humanity. None of them spoke a word. They were all thinking the exact same thing. This was either the beginning of humanity's victory, or it was the beginning of its complete extinction. A few days later, the coast of Westeros finally emerged from the mist. The sight was horrifying to see. The once green continent had become completely unrecognizable. Ice covered absolutely everything in sight. Forests stood frozen in place like eerie statues. Entire mountain ranges glittered beneath thick layers of frost. Rivers had turned into solid sheets of ice. The coastline itself looked completely dead. The world of ice awaited their return. The fleet finally landed at the ruins of White Harbor. Nothing remained of the once great city except shattered buildings buried deep beneath the snow. No birds flew anywhere overhead. No animals roamed through the frozen forests. The silence felt deeply unnatural. It was as if all life itself had abandoned the continent completely. The army set up their first camp and began marching south from there. Every single mile revealed new horrors along the way. Villages remained exactly as they had been the moment the dead first arrived years earlier. Frozen skeletons still sat inside abandoned homes. Ancient castles stood completely empty beneath thick layers of ice. Entire battlefields remained untouched, preserving the final moments of humanity's terrible defeat. Many soldiers began quietly questioning whether victory was even possible anymore. Jon questioned it too deep down, but he refused to let it show on his face. Several weeks into their long march, scouts returned with alarming news. The Night King already knew they had returned to Westeros. White Walkers had been spotted moving quickly toward the God's Eye. The race had officially begun. Humanity's army pushed south with renewed urgency and speed. According to the ancient writings Sam had translated, the Isle of Faces contained the only power capable of defeating the Night King once and for all. If he managed to reach it first, everything they had fought for would be lost forever. The journey became more and more dangerous with each passing day. Undead patrols appeared constantly along their path. Small battles erupted almost every single day. Entire companies of soldiers vanished during sudden snowstorms. The deeper they traveled into Westeros, the stronger the Night King's icy influence became. Then they finally reached the Riverlands. And there they encountered the dead. Not scattered patrols this time. Not small groups of whites. An entire army. Tens of thousands of whites emerged suddenly from the blizzard and attacked without any warning at all. The battle that followed lasted from early dawn all the way until sunset. Waves of undead crashed again and again against humanity's forces. Men died. Women died. Horses died. Every single casualty threatened to make the enemy even stronger. Drogon descended from the sky like a living inferno. His fire carved burning paths straight through the battlefield below. Entire sections of the undead army disappeared beneath his dragon flame. Yet even that hard-won victory came at a terrible cost. Humanity had lost thousands of soldiers that day. And the Night King himself had not even appeared. The battle revealed a terrifying truth to everyone. The enemy had only been testing them. He was preparing. He was waiting patiently. Finally, after many months of marching, they reached the shores of the God's Eye. The Great Lake remained completely unfrozen, despite the endless winter surrounding it. Its waters were perfectly still and calm. At its very center stood the Isle of Faces. Ancient weirwood trees covered the entire island. Their white trunks glowed softly beneath the pale moonlight. Even from a distance, everyone in the army could feel the power coming from that place. It felt older than Westeros itself. Older than history. Older than memory itself. The army crossed the lake at dawn the next morning. As soon as they stepped onto the island, strange things began happening around them. Soldiers reported hearing quiet whispers coming from among the trees. Others claimed they saw strange visions before their eyes. Some witnessed memories that did not even belong to them. The ancient magic of the island was slowly awakening. At the very heart of the forest stood the oldest weirwood tree in existence. Its massive roots stretched deep down into the earth below. Its bright red leaves glowed like fire against the white snow. Beneath the great tree, Sam finally discovered what the ancient writings had described all along. A hidden chamber. Inside the chamber rested a circular stone altar, covered completely with symbols older than any known language. The moment Jon touched the ancient stone, visions flooded into his mind all at once. He saw the children of the forest creating the very first White Walker. He saw the first men arriving in Westeros for the first time. He saw the construction of the Great Wall. He saw countless wars stretching across thousands of years. Then he saw something else entirely. The future. The Night King standing upon the island. The sky burning. Dragons falling from the air. The whole world ending. Jon staggered backward as the vision finally ended. The others rushed toward him immediately. "What did you see?" Daenerys asked urgently. Jon looked out toward the horizon. His face had turned completely pale. "He's already coming," he said. As if summoned by those very words, a freezing wind suddenly swept across the island. The lake began to crack loudly. Ice spread across the water with impossible, terrifying speed. The soldiers all turned toward the shoreline at once. Far beyond the trees, dark shapes emerged from the raging storm. Thousands of them at first, then hundreds of thousands, then millions. The army of the dead had finally arrived. At the center of the blizzard stood the Night King himself. Beside him marched his White Walkers. Above him flew Viserion through the storm. The final battle for all of humanity was about to begin. The Night King had come for the Isle of Faces. And this time there would be no retreat for anyone,